using the whiteboard with Dr. Amr Alaa, your science supervisor and your biology teacher. Today, inshallah, we are going to speak or to revise about the flowering plants. All of you know that the flowering plants are the major group of the plant nowadays. So today, inshallah, we are going to revise what are the features of these flowering plants, what are their types, and together, inshallah, I hope it will be easy for you all. If we are going to start speaking about the flowering plants, all of us know that the flowering plants known as the angiosperms. The angiosperm is the Latin word of the flowering plants. By saying flowering plants mean it's going to use the flower as a reproductive part. So the flower will be the reproductive part of the flowering plants. So in the beginning we want to know what are the reproduction or the reproductive parts of these plants. First we have to know what are the structures of the flower that enable it for the reproduction. So first we start with the greeny part that protect the flower before blooming, which is called the sepal. Then we have the colored part or the colored leafy part that present around the flower that's called the petal. This petal aims to attract the pollinators, the animal having or carrying the pollen, after the flower blooms. Then move to the reproductive parts of the flower. First with the main part, which is called the stamen. This stamen is made of two parts. The first one is called the anther, and the second is called the filament. The anther is the main part that's responsible for the production of the male gamete in the flower, which is the pollen. And the anther holds up the filaments hold up the anther. Together, anther and filaments form the main part, which is called the stamen. If we go for the female reproductive part that may present in the flower, it is divided into three parts. The stigma, the style, and the ovary. The stigma, style, and the ovary. Together, stigma, style, and ovary form the female part of the flower that is called the pistil. These are the flower parts that is responsible for the reproduction in the flowering plants. We have the stamen, which represent the male part of the flower, made of anther and filament. Filament holds the anther produces the pollen. And we have the pistil, the female part, which is made of stigma, style, and ovary. Now we are going to speaking about the types of the flowering plants. The types of flowering plants, or we can say the types of angiosperms. We have two types of the angiosperms. We have the monocot and the dicot. So we have two types, the monocot and the dicot. The word cot means cotyledon. What is the cotyledon? The cotyledon is the embryonic leaf that present inside the seed. The flowering plant known to be a seed plant. Inside the seed there is this tiny embryo where the new plant can grow. If the embryo or if the seed contains embryo of one leaf, we name it by monocot or monocotyledon, and if it's made of two embryo leaves, we name it by the dicot. And now we are going to differentiate between the monocots and the dicots in different ways. First, we are going to differentiate between them according to the seed. For the seed, as we said, if we have one embryo leaf inside the seed, we will name this seed by the monocot seed. And if we have two embryo leaves inside the seed, as the following, it will be a dicot seed. If we go to this part again to see what will happen to this seed after being grown, suppose that we have one seed of the monocot. If it starts to grow, first what emerges is the root. Then later the growing part above ground will be a structure of one leaf, and that's why it's called monocot. Now you can imagine what will happen in the dicot. If we plant the seed of a dicot containing two embryo leaves, what grows above the ground will be a structure of two leaves. Okay, this is for the first difference between the monocot and dicot. Then we can differentiate also between the monocot and dicot from the root. For the root, we have two forms. The first form is called the fibrous root. If you find the root of the plant, of course this part will not appear in the seed. This will appear if the plant grows. So if we find the root fibrous, like the fiber, this is called fibrous root. This indicates that this plant is related to the monocot. But if we find it as a tap root, like the cow for example, this is called a tap root. This indicates that this plant is a dicot. Also we can differentiate between the monocot and dicot from the stem. But to differentiate between them, we have first to cut the stem. How? Suppose that this is stem, and we are going to cut it horizontally. So it will appear as a circle. All of us know that the stem is the main site of the vascular tissue, these tubes that conduct the water and sugar through the plant. If we look to the arrangement of these vascular tissues inside the stem, for the monocot, we will find it scattered with no regular pattern, called scattered vascular tissue. The scattered vascular tissue indicates that this plant is a monocot. But if we look to the distribution of the vascular tissue within the stem of the dicot, we will find that the vascular tissue takes the shape of the ring pattern, ringed vascular tissue. This indicates that this is related to the dicot. Going to the leaf. The leaf of the monocot usually connected directly to the stem. And the veins or the vascular tissue inside the leaves are parallel. Don't forget this part. Parallel veins. While in the dicot, you will find that there is like a slight neck, slight extension, where the leaf is going to be attached with the stem, and the vines or the veins of the vascular tissue inside the leaves are branched or net-like. Branched or net-like. And don't forget, we are speaking about flowering plants. So also we can differentiate between the monocot and dicot according to the flower. So if we find that the flower of this plant made of, let's use another color, 3 petals, don't forget the petals is the color part of the flower. If it's made of 3 petals or it's multiple, it indicates that this flower related to the monocot. But if we find it with 4 petals or 5 petals, this will be indicated it's a dicot. Thank you for being with me today. I hope you understand now the concept of the flowering plant, the angiosperm, the structures of the flower, and how can we differentiate between the 2 types of the flowering plants. This is Dr. Amr Alaa. I hope to see you soon. Well and safe. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.